Hey there, this is Matt once again, and welcome back to the final review of the Matrix Trilogy, although I will still review the Animatrix. But this is Matrix 3, aka Matrix Revolutions, which you could tell when this film came out around November or so of 2003. Saw this in the theater as well as the other films. I enjoy the film, I liked the film. I'll definitely take this over The Last Jedi or The Force Awakens or quite a few other films. I do have issues with it, which I'll say it's my least favorite of the three. But overall, I still enjoy the film. I don't think the film is one of the worst sequels of all time. I would easily put Karate Kid Part 3 on that list, The Last Jedi and The Force Awakens on that list, Alien 3 on that list, Alien Resurrection, prequels like Covenant and Prometheus, the Thing prequel. So, well, I guess I'm talking about sequels and prequels. There's many other sequels I would put on the list of worst sequels. Speed 2, Cruise Control. Fuck, those sequels to the Nemesis movies, or the Kickboxer sequels, or especially those newer ones I saw, well, the reboots I saw. There's a lot of movies I'll say a lot worse than this film. But like I was saying, you could tell when this came out, the Matrix thing was dying off. Because when this in the US made less money than I think the first one did, especially a lot less than the second one did. So a lot of people got burned by the Matrix Reloaded. I didn't. I loved it. I saw it twice. But a lot of people got burned. They didn't want to come back for the third one. And then this had poor word of mouth. Even the second one had a better rating Rotten Tomatoes wise compared to this. Like, this was trashed by critics, trashed by pretty much anybody. How there'll be people who at least give some credit to Matrix Reloaded and they'll still trash this movie. And despite some issues I have, I still enjoy this trilogy a lot. I still love this trilogy a lot. And if someone, this is if someone wants to bring up, oh, but Nostalgia Critic or Confused Matthew, I don't give a fuck about Channel Awesome or Confused Matthew or Nostalgia Critic. If they dislike the film, to each their own. If you dislike the film or trilogy or films, to each their own as well. We agree to disagree. It's just when people are forcing or they're trying to say, well, you better dislike it because this guy did. I don't give a fuck. I got my own opinion. I don't need to agree with the opinions of Nostalgia Critic, which I was never much a fan anyway, or Channel Awesome, or Confused Matthew. I'm a Matthew too, but I'm not fucking confused. Never cared for Confused Matthew anyway, but that's just not my cup of tea. Issues I could say I have, the one moment where Hugo Weaving does the Dr. Evil laugh, the cackle. You didn't need that. Trinity dying after she died in the previous one. Eh, I think she should have lived. I mean, the way it plays off, like, I'm fine with, because at least they do it with some decency and with some respect to the characters. Not like fucking Ripley, Hicks, and Newt, and Bishop in Alien 3. It's not like Han Solo or Luke Skywalker in these new Star Wars films, or Captain Kirk in Star Trek Generations, or plentiful amount of more. Hell, I love Leviathan from 1989, but this is handled better than Ernie Hudson's death in that movie. At least there's respect and there's dialogue and it's a nice send off dialogue wise between the two. But it just, so it's not like it bothers me. I just mentioned because she just died in the previous one, then came back. Uh, if I was able to write the script, I would have just had Trinity live, and then she goes back to Morpheus and such. able to tell the tale of what happened. A couple little things. Morpheus, I wish he had more to do in the film, because when you get to, after a little bit of action, he's a part with Trinity and this character named Seraph at this club Hell, which is a pretty decent action sequence. He doesn't really have much to do, Morpheus. Lawrence Fishburne has some nice acting moments, but he's pretty much just second fiddle to Jada Pinkett while she's flying the ship, and they're getting to Zion. So Morpheus really doesn't get to be of much help. I wish they would have done something so Morpheus would be more valuable of a character, since this is the final act. And I enjoy the Zion action sequence. I think it's a really cool looking sequence. I would say I enjoy more than any of the action scenes in Avatar. When you look at the mech suits, I think it's a fun action sequence. But I can understand maybe people be like, well, should I really care about this character named Kid? Because we only met him for what? Maybe 2 scenes and a minute and a half tops in the previous film. And then you have this other guy's wife, this pilot's wife, the character Link's wife. I know, not Zelda, but this Link's character wife, should we care about her? Again, she only had, what, 2 scenes or so in the previous film. Should we really care about what happens to her? And they're in the midst of this battle on Zion. And that's if you give a shit about Zion, which a lot of people did not. They felt that was one of the weakest parts of Reloaded. Plus, I know I can understand that, but for some reason it didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. Maybe because I thought the actors did fine for the tiny roles they had. Maybe because I was entertained by the visual aspects, the musical score, the action sequences. I thought the one guy, Mifune, who was sort of he seemed like he would have been a drill sergeant type. He seemed badass in his presence. I don't know, I just liked the sequence. I liked the action. I liked the spectacle, which maybe that's why some people like Avatar. But I liked it more in here. Maybe because I was invested with the story of the previous 2 that I could give leeway on it. But I can understand why people would have a problem with that. So, like, those are some issues I had with the flick. And the first 2 definitely is front-loaded with the action sequences. This has, to me, a couple pretty good action scenes. Nothing on the level of Matrix Reloaded with, for me, like the Burly Brawl scene or the insane highway chase sequence. Saying all that, that's why I would say for me this is the weakest of the 3. But even watching it again, I still felt somewhat satisfied. Because I thought Neo got a good send-off. The Trinity, as a friend of mine would say about other stories, it was a love story and a tragic love story, and sometimes that does end with death. Like some great love stories, like the Fly remake, which is a great love story. Starman, which doesn't end with death, but they have to separate. Which is why I think you could have had Trinity live and still gone with that. I didn't think she needed to die. I felt you could have done something else with that. But what do I like? And again, I guess the way I'm starting off this review is trying to see, like, okay, I disagree people's thoughts on Matrix Reloaded, other than the Colonel Sanders scene. Matrix Reloaded, I think, is a very solid sequel. I think it's a great flick, as well as the first one. This one, I just see the rough edges. And I can, if I put myself in other people's perspective, okay, you have the opening scene. Okay, here's your hero. He's stuck in a train station for a good chunk of the first act of this movie. He's stuck in a train station. And so, especially at the time, let alone nowadays, people would be like, well, wait, really? This is the final act and they're stuck on a train station, this guy? And, then the Jesus Christ thing at the end. I just, at the time, I was riding high on the Matrix love fest of the first two that I bought it. Watch it again. I can see the rough edges, but I still think it's a well-directed movie. I think it's a visually beautiful movie. I think for the most part, the visual effects hold up fairly well for a flick that's 15 years old. I think the actors do a good job, other than Hugo Weaving having that one over the top. And he's hammy in the movie, but for me in the fun kind. The one moment that bothered me when he had the over the top casual. You didn't need that. Like some editing, you could take that out. The music is still a strong point. The musical score, especially during the fight between Neo and Smith at the end, still has a great score like the first two do. Beautiful visuals. I love the look of the machine world, the Deus Ex Machina, I believe it's called, the machine that creates a face that talks to Neo. The look when Neo gets blind and he sees Smith in this yellow light, and you see when he tastes like this crowbar type of thing, and through the light you see it smashed to pieces. That Smith, his face smashed to pieces. I like that visual aspect. The end fight, I put this on Facebook. Unfortunately, I put it on April Fool's Day, so people thought I was joking. But I think the Neo and Smith fight is the best Superman fight we've had. It's not even a Superman get pissed off or laugh at me for saying that, but I think it's a beautiful sequence. And the rain and the dark. Um, I still could see what was going on. I love how these two are equal and opposite, so each time they hit. But yet, unlike Man of Steel, you can actually have a little bit of collateral damage and it makes sense. They actually make it make sense. And how you don't have collateral damage. And beautiful shots when they collide in the sky and this big sphere of water cascades. The Superman punch, as I call it, that was really cool. Why do you keep fighting? Because I choose to. And he fights and he kicks Smith out the window. And they both start flying around like Superman. I think this is a... I'm sorry, Zack Snyder and Justice League, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. I'm sorry, he wishes he could have a Superman fight as good as this. I know right off the bat when I put on Facebook, someone said they thought it was boring. I highly disagree with it. I don't think it's boring at all. I like how it's even to tell a story that these two are opposites no matter what. It's this back and forth. It's going to be this constant back and forth. And that's when Neo, with the help of the Oracle that Smith has taken over, he realizes, oh, everything that has a beginning has an end. I have to end this. And there you go. You become part of me. The opposites are together. Mind, body, and soul. The Matrix, the machine world, which Neo's at the end, and Zion, which Neo represents. It's all melted together. All to be in harmony. I get where the directors were going with, and I appreciate that in the long run. I just think more people would regard these sequels better if it was just a straightforward good versus evil. Which I can understand that. And there's a part of me that's curious as to what the sequels would have been if you just went with that more standard route of the humans, Neo destroying Smith, and the humans are saved. Maybe these would be regarded as well as the Star Wars trilogy, the original Star Wars trilogy. Nowadays, it's like the first film people like, but the sequels get bashed. But I think there's a lot of good notes to it. The train station sequence, it was cool that the train man was the gyro captain and the road warrior. Was it Bruce Spence? I forget the actor's name, but it's, holy shit, that's the guy flying a little helicopter in the road warrior. And then he was also, I guess, played a different character in Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome. But oh shit, it's that guy. I forgot he was in this movie. So I thought that was cool. I thought they did some nice stuff for Trinity and Morpheus to do. Seraph, the guy who we saw in the second movie. The Club Hell action sequence, granted it's not as epic as the lobby scene in the first Matrix, or any of the action in the second movie. Still a fun sequence because some of the bad guys are upside down. Trinity's doing a flip and shooting. Seraph comes and shoots a guy who's flying, trying to get from point A to point B. Seems like a little bit more of a low-key action sequence compared to the first two. But I still thought it was an entertaining action sequence. I think the direction, the visuals, the music are pretty top notch. I love the look of the Sentinels and the machine world, and I enjoy the action sequence on Zion with the big old mech suits. I know I repeat myself, but I like them better than when they did that in Avatar. Maybe because I like the general story and the characters more, like the main characters more. Maybe that's why. I thought it was cool even the first time, like, wait a minute, when Neo gets blinded and he sees the machine world, it's this yellow light, like this spirit light. Is that, oh, wait a minute. And it even tells Trinity, man, if you just see what I just see, they're made of, it's like they're made of light. I'm like, okay. And then when you watch stuff like the Animatrix, the stories, the Second Renaissance Part 1 and 2, you realize that machines were not always evil, and things happened, and that there's more, it's not just black and white, there's more to the situation. Maybe if they put some of that into the movie, like a revelation of what happened in the past, like a little bit of that Second Renaissance Part 1 and 2, if they put a little bit of that into the movie, maybe people would have been more okay with it. See, that's what I mean. I can understand a little bit more of the hatred with the third movie. I just kind of like Return of the Jedi. A lot of people dislike that film too. But it still has a lot of entertainment factor. It still brings a smile to my face. The Zion action sequence. I thought the kid guy wasn't annoying, like I've seen in other movies where that type of character can be. Jada Pinkett, I liked her. It was cool to see her have more to do. I'd never played Enter the Matrix, which she's the star of that video game. I guess it's on the PS2. Maybe I'll pick it up one day, but I was thinking of playing Path of Neo for PS2, but I don't know if I get in trouble with copyright and such, or if anyone would even watch it, the playthrough. With that, it doesn't do with Jada Pinkett. That's with you get to play as Neo. But yeah, Jada Pinkett, she's more to do in the Enter the Matrix video game, and I suppose she had a bit more to do in here. And then her little stuff between her and Morpheus, I thought was cool. This one actor who plays this character named Bane. I thought he was a better Bane than fucking Dark Knight pisses Bane. He did a good job impersonating Agent Smith. I know long ago a friend of mine said, why did it have to be Agent Smith? Because I like the character. I like how throughout the film he becomes, for the series, for this group, in a way the Darth Vader, it's Darth Vader, it's big bad guy, and so that there's history between the two. It's not just some random person that we just met a couple minutes ago or 20 minutes ago. It's a link to the first movie that's carried throughout the three. So this whole equals but on opposite ends of the spectrum when they meet at the end. And when Neo beats the shit out of him, it's more satisfying. Like when he does that Superman punch, I always thought, this is for Trinity. Always like that. But I would say the character who in the previous film Smith would possess, his human body, he did a good job impersonating Smith, Hugo Weaving. I thought he played off well. And even the little fight scene, it's a low-key fight scene, but I like the wide shot where they both have that electrical gun going over, they're fighting back and forth, and Neo gets blinded in his eyes, but then he just sees Smith, beats the, dodges, beats the fuck out of him, smacks him in the face, I like the look of Smith. They go off to the machine world. Neo's destroying Sentinels. This is what people want to see Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. Now that I think about it. When you see the scene when Neo is like doing this, like blow up these Sentinels, go higher. Imagine if Luke Skywalker was doing that in The Last Jedi. Imagine if, okay, you want to have the girl fly the Millennium Falcon. Imagine if Luke was doing this to all the Imperial walkers. And like try to get them to shoot each other or stopping them. And then he comes down with the lightsaber. At least Neo gets to like, yeah, right. Look what he's doing. And then the Zion sequence, I can see why people, like I said, would be bugged by that because you don't really have any of the major characters during that whole, what was it, like 20-minute action sequence, like these peripheral characters that you're only seeing for about a minute or two. And then people are like, well, wait a minute, another movie's like The Last Jedi at the beginning, you would complain about this one character. Although, bear in mind, at least in these, there was a previous film where you at least mentioned them. At least you able to see them. But it's not like they're three-dimensional characters. It's not like, oh, I really care about Link's wife. Again, not Zelda, but Link's wife. It's not like you care about her or the kid. But I don't know, I just visually it was a I just enjoying it on a visual and audio music level. For good to triumph, for these people as a group to triumph. And because the first two stories I thought did a nice job building that up, I could give leeway to that. But maybe if you had Morpheus, maybe instead of the kid, maybe you had Morpheus. Like, I believe in you, Neo. Just before he was always obsessed with the one, and then by the end of Reloaded, he's like, that's a myth. And he's like, okay, this dogma, this myth is not real, but I believe in the man. And he does say that in nice dialogue, but give him some action along with it too. Maybe that would have helped people with the Zion sequence. So, it is a flawed movie. But with some fun action sequences, I love the fight between Neo and Smith and the Rain, both in fighting with each other back and forth, doing the Superman thing. Love the visual look in the rain, the lightning popping up. I like the idea of the story about how it tried to do something a little bit gutsy, a little bit different with all these three aspects getting together with Neo. And yes, the Jesus thing. But I was fine with the way it was handled here. It ended it on kind of a nice note where maybe Neo will come back someday, which I don't need any more sequels. I don't want a fucking Force Awakens Matrix style. Please no. It ended it with, things are good, the peace will last as long as it can. It ends with hope. A new hope, so to speak. I think it does have a lot of good aspects to it. Love the sort of orchestral type of score during the fight between Neo and Smith. Again, there are things I would change if I had the ability to. There are things I would change if I had the ability to write it. But yeah, I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be. I'm sure there'd be people like, oh man, you're just trying desperately to like the film. No, I can easily say I like the film. The special effects work well. The cast worked pretty damn well. The music works well. The fight scene at the end worked well. The story. Overall, I just say I was satisfied with the end of the story. The characters, overall, at least when Trinity dies, her and Neo have some nice dialogue between each other. It's not just fucking Han Solo be dumped in a fucking dumpster. What, and then the planet blows up. It's not Luke Skywalker never meeting Han Solo and farting in the wind as death overtakes him. At least you get little moments like Neo saying Morpheus, it's been an honor. And Morpheus goes, no, the honor is still mine. They shake and they hug. At least there's nice little moments that you watch throughout the flick. Like the last moment between Neo and Morpheus. I'm like, yes, I like that. Being a fan of these characters, I like that. I like the little, the dialogue, which people will say, oh, it's too long. It's too cheesy. It's too corny. A lot of films I love in the past has been called that too. So I should be surprised. Just because it's a flawed film does not mean it's a shitty film. I mean, fuck. I guess I'm kind of hesitant. I'm sad that, in a weird way, it's over already. I mean, I already watched the Animatrix, but I mean, and that's the review coming up next. But it's just sort of sad that this trilogy is done because I've been having a lot of fun revisiting these movies. Have a lot of fun watching these movies again, enjoying these characters of Neo and Morpheus and Trinity. No, I would not want a sequel because they would fuck it up like they fucked up Star Wars and Star Trek and something. I'm sure something else was star in the title. Aliens. They always fuck up a franchise, so I don't want them to do anymore. Love to see new interviews with the cast and crew. Up-to-date interviews since it's been 15 years since this and the second one came out. 15. Think about it, it's the 15th anniversary of these two sequels. I just don't think these sequels are as bad as people make it out to be. I don't think these sequels are as awful as people make it out to be. I appreciate the Wachowskis' guts and going for a different direction in the story. Yes, there are little things I would have changed, like I mentioned multiple times, but overall, I think the action scenes still work. I think the visuals and the music are top-notch. The direction is very solid. The cast, other than that over-the-top Dr. Evil laugh Hugo Weaving does, I think the cast do a wonderful job. I thought they did a nice job working with the actress who was the Oracle in the first two movies. She passed away, and they had to get another actress. And how they explained that, and I thought was actually pretty damn well written. Because it's hard to do to interject a new actor to play supposedly the same character from the previous two. I thought they did a good job with that. But yeah, it's a flawed film, but to me, still an entertaining film. Miles upon miles better than any new Star Trek or Star Wars movie for me. I'll say that. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. No apologies for it. I guess, like I was saying with the Matrix Reload, I like the idea that if the machine world is the spirit with this yellow spiritual type of light, Zion and Neo is the human world, and then the Matrix is the mind. It was, as long as there's war, nothing's going to win. But if you work together, then there'll be peace. And sadly, that's something that will never happen because we're so used to us versus them, good versus evil. And believe me, I love that in movies. Some of my favorite movies deal with that. Most of my favorite, 99% of my favorite movies deal with that in some way. But I appreciated India what the Wachowskis were trying to do. So next review will be of the Animatrix, and then I have to get to a bunch of other reviews. One day I might play Matrix Path of Neo, but only if there's people who are actually interested, will actually watch. Because sometimes people say they're interested and then no one watches the stuff. Like there have been times where people ask me to do a review, and then I do the review, and then I never hear from them again. Um, at the end of the day, I understand it's my channel. I'll do what I want, but I just am just asking out of curiosity. Be the way, thanks for watching. Take care, and we will see you later. Bye bye.